and the meeting.
Okay. Are we stopping for a minute?
We're recording.
We're going. We're on. Okay, so because Randy is new. And do we have anybody on Zoom? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need to approve the minutes of April 22nd. Because I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go through them. I think it looks pretty good. If anybody wants to scan through them real quick. Otherwise, can we get a motion?
I don't know how we can improve the minutes
Okay.
based off of our findings, right?
So you can approve the minutes because the minutes are just saying what happened in the last meeting.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that any of the recommendations necessarily are going to go into place. And I'll kind of talk about tonight's meeting once we get through some of this housekeeping stuff.
And Danny, it's just a record of what happened at the last meeting. Personally, I prefer a citizen member to approve the minutes. I'm just here.
So should we take a minute and just kind of glance through them? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot.
Sorry, I'm eating right.
I mean, I think it's here around like. Last meeting, right? No, we haven't. Well, these minutes.
We approved the meeting
Well, that's what
on
we're
April
doing.
22nd.
This is the April 22nd meeting minutes, so we're recording it.
It's April 22nd. We approved November and April. This is all things we discussed.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2025?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes for April 22nd of 2025.
Okay.
That's a good motion.
All in favor, aye. Okay, Jenny, you take the floor. Perfect.
And just to make sure before I move forward, we don't have any citizen input tonight. It seems like we're all community members and staff, but I want to give that opportunity. So if we haven't.
There's no one on Zoom?
No, there's nobody on Zoom.
Okay.
And so tonight, we're hoping to give kind of an update since our last meeting. A lot has happened since the April 22nd meeting. And so Ruth, as mentioned before, she works in our finance department and she has had a focus on the street maintenance fee, seeing how it's applied, where it's applied correctly, not correctly, or incorrectly, I guess it would be. You know, talking about through some of those items that we've discussed previously around, for instance, what if a building has multiple businesses, or you know, how much money have we not recouped since 2021? We did have a presentation at a city council meeting, we sent out the link for that. So I think some of you or most of you have seen that. So some of this information might be, you know, duplicate information, but we just want to make sure that we're providing the task force with an update, and then really kind of wanting to talk about the work that's been done, and then we'll start to talk about where we're going. So Teresa and I talked about before this meeting that it doesn't seem like this meeting will be a meeting where there'll be a motion to move forward with any sort of recommendations to city council, because this is just to kind of bring everybody up to speed. There might be a motion that comes out of that, that's okay too, but I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Ruth, who's provided you guys with some information, and we're gonna go through those documents together.
I'm gonna pick up from where I left off at city council, so if you guys are any lost, just shoot your question at me. So the packets you have, the first set that's stapled together, this is our current trips per land use. If you notice, there are many red codes on there. That is because they are no longer available. And
But it's no longer available, then.
that means that between the updates from 2003 to 2025, ITE has removed those codes or restructured them or renumbered them.
Okay.
And the ITE, just as a reminder for all of you, is what is referenced in our code for how to categorize the trips. And so in looking into that information, Ruth found that we had used edition number 7, I think it was, and now we have edition 12 that we've purchased for the city. So we, as part of this update, we'll be looking at the codes, for instance, that aren't used anymore, what needs to be reassessed, so that we're making sure that as we charge businesses in Canby, that they are being charged appropriately within those codes. And those are, it's the International Transportation Engineers Code. Close?
No.
I get it wrong every time.
It's the Institute of Transportation Engineers.
There we go.
Super close.
I always get that wrong.
So you can see here, we have category 0 through 8, and they are 1 trip all the way up to 256 trips per 1,000 gross square footage of the building.
Say that again.
Which packet are we looking at? There's 2 staple packets.
The first one,
This one?
I put them all in order, so we're all looking at the same. Yeah.
Okay. So what was
Categories
the,
are done.
It's category 0 through 8.
Where do you see that?
It's right at the top. It's category 0, category 1,
Okay.
and then there's a 1 trip, 2 trips right next to it.
it says cat, yeah.
And the land use that falls under this category
Yeah,
is
in the blue.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's cat.
Cat 0, cat 1.
We're with you.
So this is what we currently have. This is what we're currently going by.
Uh-huh.
And on the next one, and if you guys have any questions right now, would be great for what we're doing right now. But the next page is a report I put together over other cities and what they are doing. We did have a question from one of the council members, so I went ahead and looked through these city ordinances, and I looked through these cities because these are charging a utility fee for the streets, either it's like a transportation utility fee or road maintenance, etc. They all go by the ITE manual. There was a question, and can we do things differently? The answer is no, we can't. We have to abide by the ITE, by the transportation, the trip generation manual, sorry. And their formulas are highly similar with the exception of Wilsonville. Their formulas are highly similar to what we are doing. So that leads me to believe that we are doing everything correctly. I did run into other cities that are also actually struggling with the same issues that we have and not keeping everything up to maintenance, up to date. So we're actually not the only city struggling right now. But we will be the city that's most up to date, based on the edition that we have now, which is the 12th edition.
And one thing I wanted to just talk about with these ITE codes. You know, I know that at the last meeting there, it seemed that there were a lot of question marks, right? We're not exactly sure where this information came from or exactly the use of the ITE codes. But then having the focus and having Ruth do a deep dive, we've been able to understand better how it's applied, that it's commonly applied, and that one of the pieces that is happening as we go through all of these steps, and really it's Ruth going through these steps, is creating a document that helps whoever the next utility billing person is, so that we don't lose institutional knowledge, because that's really what happened is we lost institutional knowledge. So then we're talking about these ITE codes and categories, and it doesn't quite all make sense. But now that we've started to really dig into it, it does make sense. It's very easily applied, and it's common as well. And so you know, some of those question marks as far as the staff response goes, I think have been removed, or at least we are in the process of removing them.
Is there any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I would like to know if we could maybe take a step back and if you could maybe educate us on the findings in terms of kind of where we left off as a committee last. There were a lot of unanswered questions that we had left on the table, like, for example, how many businesses aren't being charged? How many, you know, we had some that were being overcharged, some were being undercharged, some were being charged at all. What were the findings on that? How much revenue were you able to identify that the city had lost due to that? And, you know, have we been able to identify what the actual revenue stream is available for this committee to make some informed decisions going forward? Have we been able to uncover any of that?
Yeah.
And can you quickly update us on that?
Yeah, what do you want me to answer first?
Wherever you feel like you want to start.
So I do have on the city council meeting, we reported the revenue loss of a total of 39,986, and that's based on additions for the buildings.
39,000 what?
$39,986.60.
And that was over what period of time?
That was based on, what year did you guys want that? 2021. 2021 and forward through August. Through July, yeah, through the end of July.
So did you go back prior to 2021? Because if you recall, Eileen called all the way back to 2008, but there was issues, and we were unable to determine if that was accurate. There was a lot of unknowns there.
Because we haven't updated the IT in so long, we were going based on the 2007. And so many businesses have come and gone. It wouldn't make sense for us to sit down and calculate that.
It is 2021.
But I will say, and I'm probably skipping ahead, Ruth, but that one of the things that Ruth is doing is going through the business list to confirm they're being charged, that they're categorized correctly. Even if the category changes when we do the update, that at the very least right now that they're being categorized appropriately. And so some of those questions when, you know, we talked about like 1,400 businesses, well, that's 1,400 business licenses, but those aren't all City of Candy businesses. You know, if you do work in the city, within the City of Candy, you're supposed to have a business license. So looking at the businesses within the city limits and confirming that those, you know, I think it's a 17-page.
Yeah, there's
PDF.
669 businesses.
Well,
within
is that,
the
I have a
city limits.
question on that. Is that accurate? Because we had a city councilor that said he has clients that are businesses and they do not have a business license.
What we are doing as part of this is actually going through and making sure every building, we know which businesses are being conducted within the
Perfect.
building. That is what's.
Because that's money lost.
Yeah, that's gonna be what's going to take place during this time, and we're not quite there yet. I do need to go through these 669 businesses and making sure I have the correct information I need, and then going to, and I'm gonna touch base on this more ahead. But there is a plan for that.
As you had just mentioned, you gave an update on how many actual businesses there were. What was that number, please?
669.
Those are stick-built businesses?
Those include home occupations. So, and then also residential properties that have been converted into commercial. So altogether, it's 669 within city limits.
So it's not 15.
No.
Everything, wow.
No, the rest of that, so, call it the other, what, 7?
800 on.
If they have to have a business license, if they're doing business. in
Right,
county.
so like for instance,
Contractors,
we've had
construction.
a landscaper come in and do work for one day, they have to have a business license in the city of Canby. So those are people who are outside city limits doing business within the city. That's where that changes.
And they don't generate trips.
Right, and it generates trips, but it's one of those things that when we're talking about 669, but some of them are home-based, that's part of the reason why Ruth is going business by business to make sure that if they're doing business, people are generating trips, that we are accurately capturing that for this effort.
One thing that we also came across while reviewing the 12th edition is that we were asked what we can do to make sure every business is being charged according to their category. And we gave it as an option to split the billing in between spaces, but that is actually now going to be a requirement because we have to capture the trips per land use for that category of the business. We have to, moving forward, split the spaces between the buildings, and they have to add up to the total building square footage. Was there any other question I'm missing between that?
That was a good catch up there.
Let's look at that. Okay, this next one, I'm sure this shows an increase for the percentages, increased percentages proposed of a 49.2% increase, 109.2% increase, and 164.6% increase. And I listed the rates, the descriptions, the base amounts, and then the rates for the categories 0 through 8 and 0A through 8A. Below that is a list of customer types that we have within our Cassell system and a combined monthly fee for each one of those customer types. I also did the increase per month, which is highlighted in blue of the total of each of those customer types. The next one below that and the first yellow row is a difference in the increase and how much additionally we would have for that percent increase. And on the very bottom is a grand total, including what we are already making in revenue per year, just for the street maintenance.
And so this is just to help answer, because I know that there were some questions, I think from the last meeting, or at least over the course of the last several meetings, about, okay, so if we raise the fee, what exactly does that look like? So that 627,000 is at the very, very bottom. That's what we're on track for the year. And then, that 49.
That's correct, that's what we're doing now.
So then we have the good, better, best scenario.
Right.
And then those are the numbers that we need.
And
And
you can use the other cities as an example as to what they're charging, if we're thinking we're overdoing it, let's take a look at what the other cities are also charging. So we're not feeling like we're undercharging or overcharging.
And I was only.
Well, I don't think this committee felt like, there was some of us on this committee that did feel like we were gonna get charged, but I think the huge increase from where we're at was what was a concern for some people.
And then the reason to increase is the city's growing. The type of the businesses that are being conducted, they generate, you know, the trips for that land use for whatever businesses are going on, and we need the cost to repair the streets for the city.
You mean to tell me Hubbard is more than we are?
Well, they're smaller, they have less population. You gotta think of population
I know,
too.
but
It's like, obviously.
I mean, they got, we was pretty low. It's like, can you believe it?
Oh, we got a lot of people. We're
Yeah.
only 16,000.
Yeah, $4 for everything, yeah. I don't know, they can afford more than $4.
And I was just gonna say that, part of the reason for this, with the current, is to give you an, you know, at least an assessment of what we really believe that, rather than using a budgeted number, which, you know, is a nice round number, saying we're on track to bring in this much, so that then we can start using real numbers of what is actually being brought in, you know, out of our Castel system, which is that finance system that, has been referenced in the past, that Ruth was able to pull that information and provide what we're actually bringing in, so that hopefully the next time that we meet, that then we're using real numbers and we're able to apply the formula appropriately.
I mean, the system that crashed on you when your phone was on stuff. Amazing.
I also think, like, we were also contemplating, like, our increase, because I think Jerry has been saving 2 years in order to repair how many miles? It's like $1.2 million for 100 miles, 2 miles in
Yeah.
Camden, 2 miles of streets. So our plan was like, we at least need to be doing that per year, just to keep up to the
yep,
rate of.
And they have it
I can't
set in
remember
here.
calls. But I think that's part of our reason, because I was all for like the 1343, so it's like, we need to catch up. So. Where these other places, like even Hubbard, they're having 2.9% year increase, right? Oregon City has a 3% year increase, and Westland has a 5% year increase every year. So we haven't had that ever for the last 16 years. So we need to play catch up and get with the times and help our department to get streets better and to where we need to be in order to maintain it after we've increased and done the annual percentage increase as well.
What city was closest to Camden, would you say?
I think Oregon City, if I remember. Oh, you mean in the
well,
cost?
no, that's $16.
Oh, sorry, I meant the formula. You mean in the cost?
Wellington.
No, that's all.
Or Lake Oswego.
Lake Oswego, right between them.
Which both of those cities.
Hubbard's 8.9. With the 2.9.
Well, and they're higher, like ours is $5, but then it's for, you know, multifamily, I think it's down to 3, and then mobile home park, it goes to maybe 2.
It's 2
So-
100 acres on the floor.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions on this one?
I guess I have one question. What are so do these other cities apply the same formula across the board for residential and non-residential? So there's a lot of questions regarding the formula that we're using, and if we were to give residential, say, a percentage increase, that same percentage increase would have to be applied to the businesses as well. I don't see that being applied to the other communities, surrounding communities, is that right? They have different dollar amounts, multifamily, single family. I guess it doesn't really list the commercial, the businesses on here.
So, commercial, low,
Well, like Lake Oswego,
so this is probably however they determined, less than 29 trips, but so those, that grouping.
these
So at the
kind of
top, it
businesses.
says, yeah, at the top, it would be residential And in the middle chunk, it would be the.
Yeah, I separated each of the cities on the very first few lines on the top. There's like the residential, and then the bottom, like the groups or the bins or the trip amounts, those are what the businesses are being charged.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the next page we have is a screenshot of the GIS map sample. This is a custom map made for the city of Canby from the county. And what this is permitting us to do is to be used as a tool for utility billing and business licensing. And what I went ahead and started doing is going into every single building within the city of Canby and adding the business license number and the utility billing license number. This is going to be something that's going to help us control and track what businesses are coming in and going out. So it's a lot of communication between utility billing and business licensing.
Okay.
And then again, that's a tool that will be in place for years to come, but also, one of the questions that city council had of staff was, you know, how will we keep track of people moving in and moving out, or new business licenses coming in and coming out? And so, you know, part of that is good communication between several different departments, and that's a piece that we're working on, so that we're making sure that we're setting the city up for success to be able to track better, but that it also, by tracking through the map, when somebody moves out, she'll be able to update it. It's not a huge lift, obviously, every time or even every year, because businesses move throughout the year, or they, you know, renew their business licenses. So it's a way for us to keep better track in real time of what's happening.
Excellent.
And the last packet, the last table packet I have is our newest 12th edition. And it has listed here the codes 0 all the way to 999. I added other measuring variables right next to them, and then trips per 1,000 gross square footage. And this is the minimum trips per land use for charge. So if it's under the trips per 1,000 gross square feet and nothing on the measuring variable, that means the, like per se, the code 21 on the first page, commercial airport, it's 1.21 trips per 1,000 gross square footage, and that would actually round down. So if you notice, none of the other ones have a decimal number on them. It just rounds down to 1. So every 1,000 square footage of the building is 1 trip, and so forth. And then on the bottom of that first page, if you look at the truck and trailer parking, there's 7 trips per 10 space parking. So that one wouldn't be per square footage, it would be for the parking spaces. And this is the form that would be used to, if the city chooses to recategorize what we already have. And we would be doing that by looking at the trip amount, putting in these categories what trips fall closer to each other, so we can categorize them. We'll take the average of those listed, and that would be the new quantity for our billing moving forward.
Is that like a formula?
Yes,
That you could you maybe visualize that? Like,
our formula,
maybe, like, is somebody easily put on the whiteboard? Like, take Columbia Distributors, for example, just hypothetically. How many trips do they generate? How many square foot?
specifically them.
I'm just saying hypothetically. Let's say they're 80,000 square foot building. And what classification do they fall under?
The industrial.
Our current, or based on the 12?
Based on this new thing,
Based on what one we're gonna use.
are they retail, they're not retail,
The
The distribution.
distribution,
distribution? I don't see distribution.
There's industrial.
industrial.
Industrial,
Could be industrial. Speaking of industrial, what if you have multiple tenants in an industrial building, do you charge each of the tenants or just the one?
We should.
We should, or would it be true?
We currently are not.
Or not?
But that's part of the new, one of the things that we've uncovered is that, it used to be that a property owner could decide if they were gonna have it all built directly or if they were gonna break it out, but in order to make sure that we're appropriately charging based on the businesses, which is the category, that it will need to be separated out by business to be the entire square footage, which the one thing I didn't think about is that includes, hallways, bathrooms, storage closets.
Square footage.
Yeah, so
For the
the-
shared space.
Then I think that, I don't know. I don't think most places have shared space in that way, other than like a hallway.
Yeah, like Graham's.
It would be.
There are several businesses in
They
there.
share
that
hallway and restrooms, but not storage necessarily, right?
I mean, I think it's probable they could, if people, yes, it's common.
Right. Bigfoot.
common area.
Hallways aren't generating trips either. So, the building is oriented, so all the doors are on the outside, and technically there's not a hallway. If it was oriented on the inside and the door faces the
Right.
hallway, it's kind of the same impact.
We have planners know how to.
Madam Chair, question?
Do we want to do that example?
Yes.
So,
This is hypothetically make up a company.
yeah.
Just make up a company, yeah.
Hypothetically,
Do your little formula too.
Right.
It's 100,000 square feet.
Big.
yeah,
They were reducing all.
no,
Okay. So our trip numbers would be multiplied by our designated fee and then divided by the gross square footage. And then this would equal our Casell rate. And so if we do it right now,
yeah. What do you got?
I'm gonna take a category 2.
Okay, wait, tell us where you're at.
You guys don't have this one.
Uh,
Actually, no, you do.
We do, we're going off the new thing you gave us, and we picked industrial, either industrial park or general light industrial.
I think
Other than
This page,
none of
is
this,
what you're saying.
distribution though, that was my
Yeah.
question.
so. This page, I got pretty, yep.
Yeah.
If we're going by
that's
what we
that.
already have, because we haven't categorized the new one.
All right, good,
This is, you're on.
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
So if I go by category 2,
2. Category 2,
I would be in charge of. Oh, this is like groups of waste. And the reason why we're doing this is because this part was already done. And that's what this is right here. So all we're doing is multiplying by the total square footage of the building. If you say it's 60,000, I cannot solve that off the top of my head, so if anybody has a calculator.
how big do you think that
It's,
Columbia?
it's.
It's 500,000.
I'm gonna say it's
Do
500,000.
500,000, then. Just,
I don't know what category it's on right now, but yeah.
Well, and that's what my
I wanna get
question
a
is, that I
ballpark
don't
of
see
my brain.
distribution center, I don't think it categorizes as manufacturing or warehouse.
Does
But,
anybody?
I think that's probably warehouse, right?
but warehouse could just simply be somebody warehousing, and there's a trip or two a day. Whereas these people we know are out and in and out couple times a day with multiple trucks.
So that, I, like,
500,000.
warehouse, call it warehouses.
So that's per month.
Yes, that's monthly.
Would be 1,000.
But that's a category too, I don't know what, off the top of my head, I don't know what, that building is.
So I have a thing from one of our past meetings, it was Cruise and Cruise, because Matt Wood was actually here. So he has a 92,000 square foot building.
But it doesn't say the category, does it?
He was a category 2.
Oh, perfect, here you go.
Perfect,
So I have 92,000 divided by 1,000 times 4 times 0.5222.
okay,
And he was and I think it came up to
okay, I get it,
192.
192.09.
Yes.
thank you.
192 a month.
Do we want to try that one? Well, how many,
He's probably more of a warehouse than a.
what's the square footage on that one?
Roughly
He said
92K.
92,000.
Who's that, Laura? Caruso, so he's a wholesale retail.
Can you do that one for me?
We did, it's 190.
2.096. 192.096.
0.096.
Per month.
Mhm.
Yeah, so then you can just round that up. to
So this is the 40 with the 49, is this the first column increase?
This is current.
Oh, current,
Yes.
$5. Current.
That's for residential.
So what's the next steps of us, another meeting to get to make a decision and a recommendation to council?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we were talking about, is just what those next steps look like. And so, you know, Ruth has been going through, like we talked about, going through the businesses to make sure that they're being, and that work is nearly done.
Yes.
There will be a meeting with, Public Works, Planning, obviously Ruth and myself, and to be able to talk about, the new categories and what that kind of impact would be if some have dropped off or they're not being used anymore, not from us, but by the manual. So, and that meeting we wanted to have after this, so very likely early next week. And I think as soon as we're done with the final audit, which I don't know if you know how long it will take, or just a couple more weeks, but calling it that audit, going through the business lists and updating them, that then we would hope to have another meeting, be able to present that information and anything else that you guys want to have a better understanding of. I know some of this is kind of clunky because we're giving you a packet of information, but what we're trying to do is not just say, oh, this is what we're doing, but also say, these are some of the questions that we had from previous meetings. And so we're trying to kind of bring the information up to date.
And reclassify it.
And we'll be reclassifying. So I think that's kind of where we're at, but I would hope to have another meeting scheduled relatively soon. I mean, not April to October.
Well, we've been doing, this is a year,
Oh, yeah.
we're into this a year, but
Over a year, for sure.
to buck up on this, the business license that we tried to get raised from $50 to $100, where is that?
So it's done.
It is done. So now,
That got approved on the last business, fee schedule.
okay, so now when I get a new light, it'll be 100 instead of 50. Perfect.
Yeah,
it's
are we
the
gonna make
$50
sure that
going
goes to
towards
street maintenance?
Yeah,
That's gonna have to be Randy letting the new finance director know that is earmarked. $50 goes to whatever into the general fund and 50 goes to that. And I see him.
but
making
will
notes.
that go tandem with the council when we do our recommendation? How's that gonna fall into place? We'll just count on the new finance director doing that? Or?
I have not heard that.
It will be,
Okay, 'cause,
well,
yes.
because you haven't been.
Right,
Right.
so that was
Last
one of
year's
our
that
things,
way.
Randy, to help us with
Yeah.
funding,
Yeah.
was, it's been years and years since the business license, 30 years since it's been raised.
Yeah.
From 50 to we'd like 100.
Yeah.
And we would like to capture
believe
that
that's what we did.
$50 to help with the street maintenance.
I think that is what we actually approved was the 100.
Yeah.
I'll
I thought
double
it
check it.
was.
Yes, it is.
It was, thank you, Jamie, I don't have to look. So yeah, we did approve the 100, but that was with the intention of
Okay,
50 going in siloed into the street
Okay.
maintenance.
Got it.
So that's gonna have to be noted to the finance director so that
Yeah.
they
and
understand.
that's a side kicker for this program. That's just
Jerry's up.
icing on the cake.
And sorry if you already answered this, or if you're already getting to it, or if you're getting to it, I'll stop, but we would have to go from the current, what do you call it, the IT manual to the new one, we would have to have that adopted by council.
If this committee and council would like to see that happen, then yes.
To use it, we would have to have it adopted.
Yes,
Okay.
because our, the code, I think it's 3.30, it explicitly lists out all of the, different ITE categories in the code. And it's possible that when we look at that, that we maybe say that we will update, we could remove some of that language so that then it's easier to update the
Gotcha.
manual in the future, that's a
That
possibility.
makes sense.
But yes,
So that would have to be a recommendation from this group, and that's down the road.
yes.
Okay.
And
We want to
I
kind of get there pretty quickly.
And yeah, and I was gonna say also, just to be, completely upfront, but, if that is gonna take a little bit longer because it's ordinance, so you have to have 2 readings and then a 30-day waiting period. It's possible that based on some of the questions we've heard, and if there are more questions, obviously, tonight and in the future, we wanna hear them, that we will be able to come back to a street maintenance meeting with enough information for you to make a recommendation to go to city council. And if that recommendation is to increase, let's just say, the $5 to $6 instead of going to $7.50. I'm not saying that's a good recommendation, just as an option. With the intent that also we update the IT manual as soon as possible, those 2 things can happen concurrently. Or we can say, we wanna see the manual updated, we wanna see the street maintenance and do it all at once. That you will have options to be able to do that. But staff's, I think, recommendation and understanding is that the best way to apply the ITE categories to our fee would be to update them to the newest edition.
I really like that, and I like the part where you can't divide the buildings up. Or do single buildings, because Judy, when I talked to Judy Christensen was our last, she was before Ruth, that she would give them the option, and I think it created confusion.
Yeah.
I'm excited that it's gotta be,
It has to.
yeah, that's great. That's all I.
So what's gonna happen when we make a recommendation to the council for one of these fees? And then, of course, it doesn't go. Do we come back with another, or are we bouncing back and forth?
I have a question first. Would it be easier for you guys, Jamie, if you were to, I also know that there are other counselors that are relentlessly asking questions about this process. Moving ahead in some step or form may appease that questioning. Can we just quickly put on the agenda approving the use of the updated ITE manual so then you can bring actual numbers to this group at the next meeting? This is what it would look like under ITE 12. Would it help if we just did that piece? I'm just asking, would that help you guys in your process? Because I feel like it would help all people on our side.
Yeah, I think so, and then we'd be able to bring some more substantial numbers forward. Obviously, then we would need to update the code at some point. There has to be a code amendment at some point.
Right, but like you mentioned, that would be an ordinance that would take 2 readings before you could actually even bring forward a recommendation based on those numbers. So I'm saying, the sooner we can get the update of the manual on the
Yeah, I mean, we can
agenda, the
do
better.
that, not tomorrow's night meeting, but.
No,
I
but
think we can have it
the mid-October meeting, we could put it on.
definitely have that.
And then by mid-November, you could be using that manual to have some actual realistic numbers in your conversation. Just,
Is that a motion?
Sounds good.
I can't make the motion, I'm just a liaison.
I
It was just throwing it out there as a thought.
Well, it makes sense to
Do we want to make a motion?
Do you? I'm just a
Do
liaison.
you guys understand?
Yes. Can I make a motion that we bring that to city council,
second
ITE.
2 weeks, basically.
What number is that, next week?
ITE
12th
12,
edition?
12th edition.
We're on 7.
Doesn't make sense.
Go forward without
Yeah,
the number one.
Yeah, the one version 7.
Then it would be-
I've ever,
As you know, Randy, it would take us a month before that could actually be in place, and then these people could go back to the table in November with realistic numbers.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we don't want to go another year on this.
No.
It's ridiculous.
And we are prioritizing this and
Yes.
trying to move it forward as quickly as
Yes, I
possible.
mean, this is
And
very.
so, my kind of squirrely answers on timeline is not because we're not prioritizing or not, because
Right.
we want this to come forward, I've had the pleasure of being part of all of the meetings also, and so I know that they've gone on for a long time, and I know that that those question marks that I referenced earlier have been at times frustrating, and so we're trying to, it's almost probably in some ways too much information, but we're trying to give you the information so that then, we can reduce some of those question marks or at least identify which questions still remain. So yeah, I think a motion to move that forward would be great.
I feel like an action step in any way would help a couple of my colleagues realize that this process is actually moving forward. Because I know, I'm not gonna name names, but there are a couple that are like, is this doing anything? We're just kicking the can.
Tell Daniel we're
I'm
working
not.
on it.
You're.
That's okay. All good.
But we, it's just, if we can make an actionable step that shows that we are actually moving forward, this step has to happen before this step can happen, and we make that step, then I just feel like that will help everybody realize that this process is actually actioning forward.
And it helps staff also.
Well, yeah, and it makes this meeting more productive because you can work with real numbers.
Speaking of real numbers, we go back to these numbers that you presented, 627,000. That number's gone down since, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that 750,000, Jerry, when we started this process? That's the budget you were working with, now it's
That might have been
647.
some carryover.
yeah,
I think
I
it's
wouldn't,
a guesstimate.
I wouldn't want to say for sure, Danny.
At the
without
time,
looking back and-
Well, all I'm trying to say is that we have some more ground to make up than what we originally discussed. So these numbers are gonna change a lot.
And just a stickler for parliamentary procedure, I heard a motion, but I didn't actually hear a vote.
Well, we'll get back there.
Okay.
Have the motion again.
Yes.
Oh, please, okay. So I motion that we, bring the ITE forward for approval to, update the codes version.
Second.
Sorry, I can't get that up.
He did good job. All those in favor?
I,
I have a question, and I wrote it down, I don't know if we talked about it, but is there like an annual follow-up or update to each business? Because some of them grow, some of them shrink, like we're using Dragonberry as an example, because they built a whole other building that's the exact square footage as the first one. Like, how does the city follow up with people? And even like Danny, maybe he would take his whole building, and be like, you know what, I'm gonna get rid of these tenants, and I'm gonna take it over because my business is booming, we're just gonna scale out square footage. How do you follow up with business owners as to what they're doing with their square footage?
There would be a new communication link between planning and utility billing for that moving forward.
that's communication in the city
Is that on the
staff.
honor system?
And, like, when we started this, our planning director provided, which was very helpful, provided a list of the businesses that had either expanded or opened since 2021. The code, the ITE code that was a category that was attributed to that business, and the final total square footage. So, and while, there was still some work to do on that, the nice thing is that gave us a place to start from, instead of sitting around and going, who do we think opened, or, oh yeah, that they were able to say, these are the people who have gone through the process or are going through the process. And that was, I think, very helpful. And it was helpful because one of those question marks was like, well, how much money has been foregone since even just 2021, right? Like, sure, if someone isn't being charged since the very beginning, yes, but just since 2021, what does that look like? And once we started to have that, we were able to identify that we are losing revenue, yes, and that's not a great thing for a city. But we're not losing 300,000 or 3 million since 2021. That the question mark made that number almost a monster, right? Where it could have been anything. But when we were actually able to have those businesses and take a look at it, it really wasn't as much as maybe it could have been, or as much as even I personally worried that it was.
But the painful part is watching the budget shortfall, watching all those meetings and stuff, and we're losing revenue. It's like, can we not get on this right now?
I'd like to add also that moving forward, because previously we didn't have any official process manuals, moving forward, they're gonna be on record. Everything's gonna be on record, so that if there is a change in personnel, like
There's
there has in the past,
Mhm.
each department head knows
This is right
what to
now.
communicate with one another.
Hmm.
And it's been very, going through this process has been very helpful because planning has been involved. You know, Ruth has been involved from finance. We have public works employees, that institutional knowledge isn't siloed in one department or with one person. So, you know, you have to take out a big chunk of us to completely lose that. And even if you did, there's a process manual that says this is how you apply these fees appropriately. And that was a piece that was really important, I think, to both Ruth and I, to make sure that we don't ever put somebody in that situation where you kind of have to know that there's more to it to be able to apply it correctly. So, you know, that's.
So I have a question. So we know that Dragonberry has built another facility, and we know that Dragonberry is not paying for that second facility. Has notice been given to them yet? We're not there yet to do that. Okay, so we have to wait for this process to
Right.
finish,
Right.
to then, okay.
But we have letters ready to go that will be easily, you know, to be updated. And then just some of that cross communication with departments. Also, that includes, you know, some additional, like paperwork that would go with a business license or something like that. So that as people are updating, that we are able to better keep track of it going through the process.
I know
So when
that
they
the
build
fire
their
marshal
food
pays
things.
visits to every business, you know, and maybe we can do something to somehow check in the box. on
I haven't
visits.
seen the
Mark's
fire
under a lot.
marshal forever.
Huh?
He's down here a lot.
Just
Yeah,
saying.
he's
No,
gonna
no,
have
I'm not,
that
I'm
too.
just saying.
Maybe we could just lean on them.
Maybe
to
one time in 8 years.
police it a little bit.
There's a new fire marshal now. Is that what you said? You don't see?
I
that?
haven't seen a fire marshal maybe once in 8
Really?
years,
Really?
and maybe downtown in 9 years once.
I see mine
Oh, really?
regularly.
Yeah, it's just
I'll
odd.
call him and send
No,
him.
you won't.
You'll give him chocolate.
You know
No, I'm
what?
not giving them.
This is being recorded, they'll be see tomorrow.
Anyway, I'm not saying I have anything to worry about, but they should be doing, going down the rounds, right? So,
Okay.
For the square footage comment, the packet that I handed out to council meeting last time, we're adding 2 pages to the business licensing application, and that's gonna be a requirement for business owners to give us to give them a chance, to give them a chance to categorize their own business. And then it's gonna go through planning to approve.
Mhm.
And there is gonna be a portion of a move-in for business owners. And again, it's gonna be a chance to get the square footage if they're gonna be having tenants. There's also a landlord and tenant billing agreement form that has been built for that. And
What's that look like? Landlord and tenant, what?
the landlord and tenant billing agreement, which is what we have in place already for residential use, but we haven't really modified it to commercial and industrial use, which is what we will be doing moving forward. And then
So what would
I
that
don't
look
know if
like?
you want to take a look at that.
So I thought you were gonna go after each business owner, not necessarily the owner of the building. Like, for example, I have a building, I have 3 tenants. So each tenant will be responsible for their own street maintenance fee, right? Not the owner. So they'll be responsible for reporting square footage to you. They'll get an opportunity to class their own type of business, right? but you'll still want then some sort of form from the owner, landlord, and them? Is that what you're
Yes,
looking for?
yes, we're trying to, and the more information we have, the better we'll be able to properly categorize and bill for them. And yes, the tenants will be taking care of this fee. Additionally, the business owner will be responsible for that if the tenants don't pay
The building.
the building rent.
And I was just gonna say that also, and you'll see on here, and then I'll give it over to you, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
But that, you know, this is a utility billing agreement. So it's not just, we're not just creating another step for this, it's so that then that helps the city with sewer fees, right? And so it will be for all of the fees to be able to, it addresses that, but
Is it optional? I mean, so what I'm just thinking of, so I have a triple net, right, triple net leases, and so why not just give me the whole bill and then I'll divide it amongst my tenants?
It wouldn't be optional anymore moving forward. We would be required, you would be required to split the square footage of your building. That way we can, again, properly categorize a bill for the trip, for the land use that this is.
So each business unit will be responsible for the square foot.
Correct.
Unless they don't care.
Because they're a different
Unless they don't
category,
pay.
both businesses.
No, I understand, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Even
Yeah,
one of your
that's
tenants,
a good point, yeah.
one of your tenants probably generates more trips than your own
I have
business
a
does.
question.
If I'm thinking correctly.
I have a question about that. So on the current, we're on the 7th edition now. What changes it so it's mandatory when we go to the 12th, or are we mandatory right now to charge each?
The reason why it's mandatory is because the 7th edition didn't have, at least I don't believe it had a requirement of the gross square footage. And the 12th edition does have it.
Oh,
So if I'm going and using the web-based app, which I did to make up this, this packet, the last packet, right here, it requires me to enter the total gross square footage. So that's what I'm basing it on. That's why it's a requirement I'm looking for.
okay, so it's just a requirement no matter what from your out.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Makes sense.
So Jamie, are we waiting for finance department? Because we were waiting for an audit and all that, you know, for like, so that this is what you
That's
guys are
what
doing with
we're
them.
doing, yeah.
So, and,
That's
okay.
great.
And it's been,
Do you have any
you
issue?
know,
Sorry?
Was it easier or harder than you thought, or what?
for supervisors, pretty good.
Oh, it was
Other
easy
than that.
peasy. Obviously.
Easy.
I was just gonna say that I wanna thank Randy for putting this dedicated effort.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when doing a full-time job and, you know, being in the office and having to do all of those things, you can maybe work a little bit here and a little bit there, but put in that targeted effort. And Ruth has been able to really get a great understanding of this program, of how it's applied here, how it should be applied here, how it's applied in other cities. And we're excited to meet tonight, and we're excited to move it forward and, you know, watch along hopefully on the
Yeah,
17th.
I'll back up
Well
on
done,
that.
guys.
Thanks for dinner.
Team effort.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And if there are any other questions that you come up with as you leave or after you leave, if you wanna, you can go ahead and email me and I'd be happy to, you know, work on that. And I can always send the question and the answer out to the whole group. So if there's a follow-up question, I'm happy to do that. And if there's nothing else,
I think we're moving in the right
Me
direction,
too.
finally, and yeah, it's good.
Is there room,
Thank you, Jay.
Clarification.
Randy,
on-
there's room on the 15th agenda
Yeah.
to add this?
Pine Street and Street Maintenance 15.
15th,
is it 15?
October
Yeah,
15th.
either way, yes, works for me.
I don't know, we come in on Friday.
Thank you.
And you guys let us know when you need us there for anything.
Well, and I was gonna say, if you wanna come to that, you know,
Yeah.
15th meeting, I think that's beneficial, and, you know, as soon as we're,
I think putting together feels like a multi-year plan for this and reaching out to the business owners, letting them know what we're up to. I think that should be part of our presentation as well. Letter, information, open
Yeah.
house.
We don't want to shock them.
yeah, that's one of the hopes is that we can, and we can include it actually in the billing where we would talk about increases or, you know, if it's going to be, you know, new category or whatever that is, so that we can address all of our, businesses kind of in one fell swoop.
No, thank you, city staff.
Yeah. This is a much better meeting from last time, because I was new to it. Nobody, this makes so much more
A
sense.
little different.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Randy. Thank you,
Okay,
Ruth.
so if there's nothing
All
else,
right.
then
Thank you, Chair.
the meeting, will bring the meeting to an end at 7:09.
There we go.
Quickest meeting ever.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Email this to Matt.
Okay, go to take shit.
We were over you 2 years ago.
We tried, we tried.
Are we still
Yeah,
recording?
it's unfortunate, but
Oh, we can do it all.
I was left
Yes,
for a lot of minutes for so long.